Huge volatility today, major whiplash. All markets are shaky, in fact. Why? What's going on? Well, the real reason we're seeing such big volatility to start this week off is because Moody's, a global financial ratings and risk assessment company, just downgraded the United States credit rating from AAA to AA1.
Credit ratings agency Moody's downgrading U.S. debt to AA1 from AAA over the weekend. The agency citing the budget deficit and rising interest payments on government debt in a high interest rate environment for that cut.
This means that the U.S. has lost its top-tier credit rating from all three major credit rating agencies, including Fitch Ratings, S&P Global Ratings.
Standard & Poor's downgraded the United States back in 2011. Fitch cut the U.S. rating to back in August of 2023.
These two had previously already lowered the U.S.'s credit rating from AAA to AA1. All this is causing a lot of turmoil and whiplash in the markets. Do not be fooled. Look at what's really happening. Let's talk about what's really going on and what comes next for Bitcoin and crypto. Because all of this sounds bad, and obviously it's not great, but this really isn't that big a deal, and I'll tell you why. It's really more of a lagging indicator, and one that was actually already pretty much priced in since the other two credit ratings did this years ago. And think about it. Long term, this is actually good for Bitcoin as it opens up the doors even more to a non-sovereign reserve asset like Bitcoin. But obviously, this is a negative headline, and all markets saw volatility because of this. FundStrat's Tom Lee, though, also says, guys, this is not a huge deal. This is actually a buying opportunity.
I don't know if there's much signal in the downgrade Friday because I think the first AAA downgrade was signal from 2011. I don't think Moody's had any information that we didn't have on Friday afternoon. So I think markets should realize the bond market largely priced in the fact that the U.S. is really not AAA anymore. So I'd be viewing this as a buying opportunity.
Higher highs are coming, at least according to FundStrat's Tom Lee. He's speaking about the stock market here, but we all know how insanely bullish he is on Bitcoin and crypto. So listen what he says carefully. This is what comes next, according to Tom Lee.
So we reclaimed the 200-day. Is that a clear path to a new high, as some of the trading desks suggested this morning?
Yeah, in fact, I think today will be an interesting test. I'm assuming today's pullback's going to be really shallow, might even close positive, because most investors rage sold at the bottom in April, and then they doubted.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Is that your own, or have you heard that other place?
I've heard that. Yeah,
rage sold.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And so as the markets climb, a lot of people sort of doubted, thought it was a rally that would fail, and so I think there's $7 trillion cash on the sidelines, enormous skepticism from our institutional clients, and a lot of folks sort of bet outside the U.S., so I think there's going to be a lot of chasing into year-end.
And we can be even more bullish on crypto markets for two big reasons. Two big legislation bills are about to get passed. These will open up U.S. markets to crypto and bring insane capital into the space. I'm most looking forward to this one, the Market Structure Bill. This bill aims to create a comprehensive regulatory framework for the entire digital asset market, including exchanges, brokers, other intermediaries. It will define what digital assets are, what jurisdictions they fall under, the SEC, the CFTC, and clarify their respective roles. This will be huge for the crypto space since the US is the largest capital market in the world. They're aiming to get this passed by August. Now, the stablecoin bill, which will also bring insane capital into this space, this might get passed very soon, in fact. It actually failed a week or two ago, the first time in Congress. They're attempting another pass. Senator Bill Hagerty is one of the main leaders of this bill. It's pretty obvious that it's just common sense to get this passed ASAP. Bill Hagerty explains why we need this and what this will do and what to expect with this.
So, but in terms of just understanding how this bill works and what it does, what is it?
It basically establishes a legal and regulatory framework to issue stable coins here in America. Stablecoin, stable meaning it's backed by a certain currency. In this case, it's tied to the U.S. dollar, but also it's backed either by cash or by short-term U.S. Treasury securities, so it's entirely safe. Having that type of regulatory framework and disclosure around it so we know exactly what's backing up these digital dollars, if you will, is going to be great.
Think about how bullish this will be going forward. Understand what a stark change this will bring, especially from the way things used to be.
Because what was happening before was the SEC would issue something that basically just scared people, wouldn't tell them what works. They would go after enforcement actions after things that they didn't like, and that left the entire industry saying, what are we allowed to do? What are we?
Because crypto is a technology, plain and simple. Stablecoins are a payment system technology, plain and simple. It would be a mistake not to invite a better technology to thrive in the U.S. Senator Bill Hagerty explains here.
This is a payment mechanism, and not to be confused with Bitcoin or something that has a speculative component. This puts us into a digital payment framework, the fastest rails available, much better than the system developed in the 70s and 80s, which is slow. It takes days to clear.
So understand the floodgates are about to be opened. You can actually say they've been becoming opened probably since BlackRock launched their ETF in 2024 or when President Trump got elected and started doing the things he's been doing in 2025. But they're just barely opened. They're just about to become fully opened. Think about this. 95% of all Bitcoin is already owned, yet 95% of investable money still doesn't own any Bitcoin. I'm not sure who Michael Saylor is talking about in this clip. Is it Donald Trump? Is it Larry Fink, who he mentions in the very beginning? But the point, his point in this clip about sovereign wealth buying into all of this is valid. He says that whichever sovereign wealth fund buys the most will do the best. But the greater point is we're seeing a lot of sovereign wealth buy into this. Different sovereign wealth continues to buy in.
And so if the most powerful man in the world says it's digital gold and says don't sell your Bitcoin and we're going to buy more, I think that the last hurdle has been leaped in terms of on the path to legitimacy.
So tell me, if you're a sovereign wealth fund, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, how would you be diversifying that portfolio? How much Bitcoin would you own?
All of it. To tell you the truth, I think it's kind of an IQ test. It's like if you had $1 billion and you wanted to double it, you would buy the $1 billion of Bitcoin and put out a press release. But if you wanted to make $1 trillion, you would try to buy as much as my company has right now. You go buy $50 billion worth of Bitcoin and just keep buying, and it'll be $1 trillion to you. So you ought to buy as much as you want money, right?
Yeah.
I think that my forecast for Bitcoin is it goes up 29% a year compounded for 21 years, which is going to be 3-4 times better than the next best thing. So yeah, I could tell you, put 5% of your portfolio in it, but smarter would be to put 150% of your portfolio in it. If you want 10 extra money, you buy Bitcoin. If you want 100 extra money, you buy Bitcoin with somebody else's money. And if you want 1,000 extra money, you use somebody else's money, buy Bitcoin, and you lever it. Right? The simplest thing going is borrow money at 3, 4, 5%, invest it at 30 to 60%. Keep the difference.
Did you hear what Michael Saylor just said? This is the reason we're hearing more and more the 200K price prediction in 2025 or very early 2026. And I'll tell you, I didn't think 200K Bitcoin this year was very likely. I always thought it was possible, just not probable. I think 200K Bitcoin this year or very early 2026 is becoming more and more probable. Just listen to the way Anthony Scaramucci of Skybridge Capital explains the opportunity and what's going on here.
You just have to ask yourself the following question, and then there's a binary move after you answer the question. Is Bitcoin an asset class? Is it an asset class? If the answer is yes, then I believe, therefore, it should trade to the market capitalization of gold. It represents an asset class. That means that a portfolio consultant will go to a large-scale institutional investor and say, you need to allocate to gold. You need to allocate to Bitcoin. NVIDIA, Amazon, these others are investments. They're stock investments. And so I've taken the position, rightly or wrongly, and I can back it up, I think, with a lot of color and a lot of commentary, that it is an asset class. And it's very unique in the following respect. It's a global asset. If you look at American companies or the S&P 500, yes, people around the world own them, but they're predominantly owned by Americans. Bitcoin has got amazing distribution in terms of its ownership around the world. So if you say to yourself, if 50 or 60% of the people that currently own Bitcoin believe it's an asset class, will they continue to buy Bitcoin? Will they continue to hold Bitcoin? or they recommend it as an allocation in portfolios. If that's the case, then $200,000 is too low for Bitcoin. Something like $500,000 would be there.
And Wall Street understands another thing that most retail people don't ever consider. The global money supply continues to explode upwards. Look, guys, many signals and metrics are indicating that Bitcoin and crypto is about to blow a lot higher in 2025 and in 2026. The market goes in ebbs and flows, of course, but take a look at what's happening. In my opinion, the move from $110,000 Bitcoin to $125,000 Bitcoin will be quick, and then everybody's eyes will be opened after that. You need to prepare. Subscribe to our channel. We're the #1 crypto YouTube channel in America. Watch our videos every day and stay in the know. Millionaires will continue to be minted in crypto in 2025. You can change your life in crypto. Now is the time. We're about to start releasing banger videos on this channel. You don't want to miss anything coming from us over the next few weeks, the next few months. We try and share with you on this channel what Wall Street insiders know and what they share among themselves. So yes, I'm hugely bullish. Stay tuned.